everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Against All Odds. And as I say at the beginning of every podcast episode, it's purely a selfish reason why I do this podcast, because I get to interview the most inspirational guests and share it with you all. And today is no exception. I'm pleased to welcome Imthiaz to the show. How are you, my lovely?
I am very, very glad to be here virtually. It's been a long time coming. I obviously heard you I heard you talk on one of Lucy's masterclasses, and straight away I was intrigued and I followed you, and you're doing amazing work. So I really appreciate you having me on here.
Thank you. You're all the way over in Dubai as well, aren't you, at the minute?
Yeah. I mean, I could be worse places. I have been worse places. Let's put it that way.
So you are really well known for helping men physically and mentally, aren't you?
That's right, yeah.
Thank God for you. That's all I can say.
I'm here
but
to
I
save
always start kind of you are, mate, thank God. I always say to people, when people are impacting people in the way that you do, there's always a big reason why, because you don't just fall into it by accident. I've never met anybody yet that's just fell into it by accident. So what's your backstory, mate? Where did this all start for you? Because I know you've had an incredible one.
Yeah, so in a previous life, I was heavily involved in crime, self-professed drug dealer, went to prison at the age of 26, and then that was in 2018, and then I went on this journey of some personal development. I got to work with people with mental health inside prison, also got to work as a personal trainer, and that's where the two worlds kind of combined, and then got out and chased my goals and my vision for what I wanted the world to become, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. So was it your time in prison where you just went, right, I need to do something different?
Yeah, I had a
when
conversation.
did you kind of switch?
Yeah, so I had a conversation with an old boy called Martin, and Martin was in his 50s and he was finishing off a 24 stretch for importation. And I've spoken about this quite a lot before, but with Martin, one thing, he was very candid, and what he told me was that this is what we call an occupational hazard. And he'd been in prison in his 30s and his 40s, and he's in his 50s now, finishing off a long stretch. And the idea I had in my mind at the time was, I'm going to get out, I'm going to move a little bit smarter. You know, they're not going to be able to get me this time. I'm going to make more money, so on and so forth. And that was up until I met Martin. And Martin made me rethink the way I was looking to operate once I get out. What I figured out was, by speaking to Martin and watching him on the wing, he's an old fella, out of shape, face sagging, looked sad and ill as fuck. I thought, I can't let that be me. I've got to change the way that I'm going to operate once I get out. And for that to happen, I needed a new toolkit, because I had a certain set of skills. I sound like that guy off Taken right now. Had a certain set of skills, and they only led me to one place, which was prison. So it only made sense for me to not end up back in prison, actually do something positive in my life and still become a somebody. I had to add to that toolbox, that skill set, you see. So that was, for me, the point where the penny dropped. I was like, whatever you're doing or whatever you're thinking of doing, that way is broken. So you've got to change.
Yeah, that's an incredible kind of mindset shift, because a lot of people that go into prison don't change, and they go further down the path, like you say, and just repeat and repeat and repeat.
Yeah.
So that's quite impressive that you was able to do that. But how did you get into being a drug dealer, first of all? Because that's not something you fall into neither, just by accident.
I'm very big on ownership, and I could sit here and tell you, yeah, it was the area that I grew up in. Yeah, there was a lack of positive male role models. Yeah, there was poverty, so on and so forth. But that would be me passing the buck, and I don't work like that. Ultimately, I made decisions. Nobody could put a gun to my fucking head. I made decisions which led me to a certain place, down a certain path, and which ultimately led me on March the 16th, 2018, being caught as a part of a sting operation, and then subsequently being sentenced to a 7-year prison sentence. So
Wow.
it was me.
Wow.
It was me. There were
Yeah.
factors, of course, things that influence, but ultimately I made certain decisions. So I'm huge on ownership. You know, like I said, it was me. It was me.
Wow. And from that, you said you go into prisons, you do talks. I've seen some of your videos where you've been in
Yeah.
prisons to do talks. I bet that does that hold something special for you, because obviously you've been there, you've been
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah. For me, I
Yeah.
went back to the prison that I spent the majority of my sentence in. So I knew the faces,
Right.
I knew the people in there, I knew the officers and so on and so forth. But it was, for me, I think, you know, Paul Moore, he spoke about his time that he
Yeah.
gave talk in prison, and it was one of the most nerve-wracking things that he ever did. For me, it's the complete opposite. I felt at home in there, but when I speak in front
Yeah.
of people out here and they are university educated, gone down the education route, really smart people, that's when I get nervous. But when I went back to prison and I went back to Oakwood,
Yeah.
I think it was the back end of 2023, I think. I was like, I'm home. I'm home. But in a more
Yeah.
under my own accord. And I left of my own accord,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, that was a surreal moment.
Yeah. What kind of reception did you get there? Because I can imagine it was quite a powerful one.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the lads that I spoke in front of, I served time with, I was on the wing with. If I wasn't on the wing with them, because I was working in the gym at the time, I'd see him in the gym. So yeah, it was one of hope. That's the feeling that I got, because after the talk, I was asked questions for around about 45 minutes. And I'm assuming now, I'm making a big assumption. It was really, it really sparked hope in the lads that I was giving the talk to, that there is another route, there is another way. And yeah, that was the reception I got was warm. It was that of, they were proud. I felt like people were proud of me. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you have a moment where you're proud of yourself as well? Because that must have been a big thing for you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I walked down the route, because I gave the talk in the sports center, when I walked down the route, I definitely had a spring in my step that day. And
Yeah.
I felt, it's weird, I felt untouchable because I was. The prison officers couldn't say shit to me. Nobody could say shit to me. I couldn't be told where to
Yeah.
go. The last time I was in that prison, I was told where to go. You can't be in this section of the prison, or so on and so forth. I was there on my own accord. I was in charge. And yeah, it was, it was vindicating.
Yeah. I can imagine it. And when I saw the video, and I thought, what an amazing thing, because I think if you put somebody in a prison, if I walked into a prison, I've never been in prison, and I'm doing a mindset talk, a lot of people would go, oh, fuck off, you don't even understand. But it's a powerful thing when you can resonate with somebody
Yeah,
and you can show them what's possible.
yeah,
That's powerful.
for sure. For sure.
Absolutely incredible. So that was 2023, did you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was the back end of 2023.
Okay, so you'd already set up coaching men by
Yeah,
that point, doing.
yeah. So what I did was, with my time in prison, for the majority of it, I did use it productively. So I educated myself. I wrote myself a business plan. I got out on the Friday. I was shooting content on the Monday. Didn't have a clue what I was doing, but
Right.
I was putting out content, and it blows my mind when I hear coaches and people say, I don't know what to post. Post anything. Post
Yeah.
anything. Be with me. But I was on a mission. I've not
Yeah.
stopped. I've not really missed a day. I've not missed a beat. Don't get me wrong. I'm in Dubai right now, but we're working. And I believe with a lot of people, they create a life that or they do something that they want to escape from. That's why they need a holiday.
Yeah.
I will work wherever I am, and it doesn't tire me. It doesn't drain me. It charges me up. It gets me revved up, because you know, I prayed for moments like this, and it's just, like I said, it's vindicating that I can get out. I'm not unlicensed anymore. Once again, there's no more restrictions on me within the community. I've managed to travel twice since my license has been off for the first time in 8 years. And I'm just living life and showing people that there is more out there for them. And I'm living proof of that.
That's absolutely incredible. I love that. So you work with men physically and mentally, don't you? It's not just,
Yeah. So physically, also helping with business, also helping with the relationships that they got in their life, mindset stuff. So yeah, what I'm trying to do is create my vision is to create a society where men are capable, they're not soft, they do what needs to be done, not dependent on what they're feeling like, or the emotions that they're feeling like at the time. And for me, it's not just the men that benefit from this, it's society as a whole. Because I do believe we've lost our way, especially in the UK. We lost our way as a civilization. And I could go on about this and get really political.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm glad you agree.
I'm glad you said that.
And it's time to fix it. It's time to fix it. It's time to take back ownership. It's time to put on our big boy pants and get to fucking work.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, well, I've dropped a sentence to you before we started recording the podcast. And I was like, the men need help. And I agree. I mean, I can't talk to other places around the world, but the UK definitely, men need help. But what do you think? Where did it go wrong?
I was having this conversation yesterday, actually, Amy, and one of my friends I'm here with, he made a valid point. He goes, the men in war-stricken countries right now haven't got time to be depressed. They've got survival on their mind. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, because of the UK and how it's set up, don't get me wrong, there are pros and cons. But if you're sat on your arse, of course you're going to feel depressed. There's a lack of action. There's a lack of movement. Physically, financially, in business, at work. It's just the same thing on repeat. And in fact, I don't believe in depression. Okay, I believe in the chemical version, you know, there's a chemical imbalance, but the typical what people say, I'm depressed. I don't believe in that. However, I did feel like that once upon a time. And you know when that was? That was right before I got released, when I'd done all the planning, all the reading, all the studying, when I was just at the gate. I was there, I'm like a greyhound at the gate. And because I couldn't do nothing, I couldn't execute nothing, everything had been done for those probably 5 to 7 days before I got out, I felt really low, because anything, all the preparation been done. I was like, I'm just chomping at the bit. I'm chomping at the bit. I'm getting frustrated. Some nights I was almost in tears because I couldn't action what was up here. I was dying to take action. I couldn't. And that's how I kind of attack life now. I don't have days off. Days off is because I know what a wasted day feels like. I know what a day feels like where you want to do something, but you can't. And when you haven't had your freedom taken away from you, how can you really cherish freedom? How can you really cherish the free will that you've got out here? You can't. You don't attach value to it until it's taken from you. It's maybe sometimes like when you're in a relationship and you take the person for granted, you only realize how much you love them and how much you miss them once they're gone. And that's what it was. That was my relationship breakdown. My relationship with my freedom was taken away from me. And then when I got it back, I'm not like, I squeezed the most out of every day.
Yeah, I think that freedom is a big thing in society. I think that's a problem because everybody feels stuck. Everybody feels like they've got to work all these hours to pay the taxes and things like that. Like if they're overweight and out of shape, they feel stuck because they won't get.
I think there's too much freedom. I think there's too much freedom because that allows you to twiddle your thumbs. that allows you to sit in your
Yes.
feeling, that allows you to think, oh, my life shit. I'm going to be depressed today. I feel depressed today. There's too much freedom. For true freedom to exist, and I learned this in prison, there has to be some sort of restriction. There has to be
Right.
some form of restriction, because that gives you structure, that gives you a routine, that gives you urgency, and so on and so forth. And because we live in a free society, look what's happened to it.
Yeah.
Men think they're women, and women think they're men, and fucking you can identify as a dog or a chair or a bottle of water. That's what happens when there's total freedom,
Yeah.
and there's too much freedom. I think that's what's kind of led to the state that we see the UK in now, especially amongst men.
Yeah. You see, I think there's something definitely going on with men. I do think men have a hard time with this toxic masculinity bullshit that flies around and all that. But I do think men have lost their way, their evolution, they're wired a certain way. And it's like they're so far back, and women as well, but men are so far removed from what actually we're wired to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look at it now, if you look at a man's role, you've obviously got protect and provide, but what a man needs as well, men are very simple. We need only a few things from the opposite sex. But let's put it this way: women can now provide for themselves. Okay, so what they
Yeah.
needed men for previously, they no longer need. Okay, now whatever you think of that, that's up to you, or whoever's listening. That's up to you. But because you remove that responsibility off the shoulders of men now, because women are more independent than ever, they do earn good money or just as much as their male counterparts, so on and so forth. You've got a group of men looking around thinking, what the fuck am I meant to do, Because
I completely agree with you, and I'm a woman. So.
yeah, and the women who are earning good money, who are independent, they aren't looking at your average guy. They're looking up. They want the 6 foot, 6 figures, blue eyes, so on and so forth, working in finance, however that song goes. That's what they want. That's what they want. And the average guy on the street who hasn't got a six pack, who's out of shape, who isn't earning decent money, who can't provide a lifestyle, regardless of what his heart is like and what his mind is like, whether he's a good person or not, they are getting overlooked.
Yeah.
And where do they end up? They end up down the pub for a couple of days, on the packet for a couple of days, not coming home, and then it's back to work. And no wonder they're feeling the way that they're feeling. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you wholeheartedly. Like I say, and I'm a woman. Like
Yeah.
we've massively knocked things out of balance. We definitely have our part to play in all of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll get hounded now by the feminists for saying that, but I do believe that's how we were wired.
Yeah.
And we've kind of tipped that balance.
And then if you're looking
so it means that men never catch up.
Yeah, and if you're looking from the other end of the spectrum, so if you look at the extreme in terms of women, there are women now who are approaching their late 30s and 40s who are single, who've played the dating game, who have had the nice lifestyle and the nice things and the materialistic stuff for themselves. More power to them, okay? But these women are also upset, and they are mourning their unborn children. They are mourning, and this is when you talk about a loneliness epidemic for women, that's coming as well. But you got to remember, we're still early in this new age, as it were. We're still pretty early in this, okay? And for me, God forbid that if we continue in terms of the balance that we see between men and women in society, I can't see what the answer would be. I can't see the answer in regards to making sure that both genders feel valued in society.
Yes.
I mean, I've got a rough idea, because I don't see the powers that be changing the system anytime soon. because they
No.
benefit too greatly from it. However, what I will say is men need to become capable again. They need to become powerful. They need to be strong. They need to be well groomed. They need to have money in the bank. They need to have investments. They need to be on top of their stuff. But also, there are new demands being placed on men where they have to be emotionally intelligent and aware. Whereas before, they didn't really need to.
No. That's what women do, right?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. The lines have become blurred. So we either accept the rules of engagement and play within them, or we just throw our hands up and say, fuck it, we're depressed.
Yes. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And then if you like, a men would feel shit, right, in that instance. And then you throw social media in as well. And then they start comparing themselves as well, don't they? That'll never happen for me. I can't get there. So that's also at play, I believe.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't experience that previously myself. But the switch in terms of mindset that I made is I run my business off social media. Are you with me? It's not
Yeah.
it's not a comparison tool. It's not anything else. It's just to let people know my name's Imthiaz Ghulam. I coach men and help them become as capable as possible. And I'm here. This is my little corner of the internet. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Whereas the dangerous thing that happens with men, and I'd argue with women more so, is it's a case of keeping up with the Joneses. What's she up to? What's he up to? Where are they gone? Where's that couple gone? You know? So that's where it becomes dangerous.
Yeah, it is. It's like we invest so much more in other people's lives than our own.
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's people are nosy. People are nosy by nature. Okay, and
Yeah.
it is a sad state of affairs. But social media has its benefits as well. It does have its benefits. You can run a business off it. You can, what I spoke about, becoming capable and powerful and wealthy and being inspired. That can also come from social media. But if all you are doing is, if you're more of a consumer of social media than a producer, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to feel like shit.
Yeah.
It's like if you're an over consumer of anything, you're going to feel like shit.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. There's an overconsumption of social media. There's an overconsumption of social media, and it's designed to be addictive as hell. They want to keep you on the platform. That's how they make the money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I
absolutely.
think
they are clever how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, countries like China and Russia got it right, where they have their own versions of social media. I believe in China that a lot of this degeneracy isn't pushed on social media. It's more they'll put out their leading scientists or their top mathematicians or their top violinists and so on and so forth to inspire the future generation. If the government really wanted, if the powers that be really wanted, they could do that. They could create a nation of absolute powerhouses. But what happens there is the power moves from the governments and the powers that be to the people, and they don't want that. They don't want that.
No, absolutely not. absolutely not. Yeah, and it's you see men are designed to group together as well, which is why I love what you do, because you literally group the men together. I believe men have lost that hugely.
Yes. I've had a conversation today with somebody who I class as a good friend, and he works out here in Dubai. And in a world so connected, we've never been so isolated and lonely. I'll say that again. In a world so connected, I've never been so isolated and lonely. And because we haven't got that peer group, there are certain things that you can't go to your missus with, that she won't understand. She can't help you with. you know, with all due respect, you, Amy, are not qualified to understand what it's like to be a man. And the same way I'm not qualified to understand what
No,
it's like to be a woman and help, you know? So the
yeah,
peer group,
exactly that.
the peer group is detrimental. The brotherhood is detrimental to what we are speaking about. And if your only peers, if the peers that you have aren't positive, aren't progressing, haven't got progressive thinking, or aren't moving forward, they're only going to hold each other back. It's like a crab of barrel, a barrel of crabs, crabs pulling each other down. That's what it's like, and that's the state of things now. And
Yeah,
like I said, coming out here and seeing the world out here, everyone's supportive. I've had messages of people who don't really know me, who follow me on Instagram, who live out here. Let me come see you. Do you need anything? So on and so forth. And from what I've seen so far, places like this have got it right. And no wonder there are people with the means who are leaving the UK in their droves. It's not surprising at all, Amy.
no, no, because I don't think the government have the answer. You know, I think you only have to look at like these men's walking groups, or like when they go kayaking or doing like activities and that, like
Yeah.
how well they go, and it just screams like that's what's needed. And like when you group them together and how well they do, like you do with them, and it's not rocket science. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
It's not what you said there, that the government hasn't got the answer. I believe they have got the answer, but they choose not to share that answer. They choose not to facilitate that answer. Because like you said, it's not rocket science. It's
No,
not rocket science. But if you group together enough strong, capable, powerful, wealthy men, that's dangerous.
it is. It's very dangerous to a government, isn't it?
There's
It
so
is.
I believe they got
So,
that
but
answer. They don't want to put it out there.
yeah, I know where you're going with that, and I completely agree. I also think as well, I'd love to hear your take on this. I believe that men do need a purpose.
Yes, yes. So I heard Jordan Peterson talk about this, and I've stole it off him. There are 5 or 6 areas that every human being needs to feel fulfilled and have a purpose. So a project is one, a project that they're working on, their health, which can be a project in itself, an intimate relationship, a community, okay, finances.
Yeah,
Those 5 or 6 areas, if you start to work on them with a man and you systematically go through and you start to improve those, okay, depression and poor mental health fucks off. Crazy. It's crazy.
yeah,
So a lot of the time, people
yeah,
haven't got mental health. They're either lonely, they're bored, they're broke, they've got poor health, they've got no friends. And what happens in those scenarios
yeah,
is that void is filled with some sort of substance, porn, social media, drink, smoking, so on and so forth, because they are lacking a bond. So in terms of your purpose,
yeah,
those 5 things tend to give people purpose. And if you've got all 5 and you're actually working on all 5, you will find your purpose. You will find your purpose.
yes,
And it's simple. It's really simple. But it means sometimes living a bit of a boring life, as what you compare to what you see on social media. It does mean going to bed at 10 a.m., 10
yeah,
p.m. It does mean eating well. It does mean messaging that mate out of the blue saying, I haven't spoken to you in a while, bro, I'm thinking of you. Having that cohesion as men, you know,
yeah,
having something that you're working on, whether it's a car or a business or whatever it may be,
yeah,
having there. And hopefully if somebody's listening and they also go and have a look, what's missing in your life? Are you taking all 5 or 6 boxes? And if you aren't, which
Yeah.
ones are they? And go and
That's
work on
it. That's it. Because I think so many people get into the kind of rut of, well, this is what it is then. But I believe that's a UK society problem.
for sure. For sure.
It is, isn't it?
We are ungrateful as a people.
Yeah.
We are ungrateful,
Yeah.
and we've been allowed too much freedom. We've been allowed too much substances. We've been allowed too much of a way out. And as a society, we're just soft.
Yeah.
We're just soft.
Yeah. We are. And that is the biggest, I think, on that leads to mental health, because we all have emotions, and we talk about depression and anxiety and that. And instead of living with it, I always say it's an alarm clock. You need to do something different.
Yeah, you can't think your way out of anxiety or depression. You have to action your way out of it, right? You have to take
Yeah.
action. And this is something I heard you talk about. You do the
Yeah.
action first, and those neurons that fires together, you build the pathways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And over time it becomes more of a habit. You use the analogy of walking through a cornfield and chopping your way
Yeah.
through. The first time it's going to be difficult. The second time it's going to be a little bit easier. You do it every single day, it's going to be a doddle. But it's that initial
Yeah.
bit which is really tough, and people fall at that first hurdle thinking that this should be easy just because I'm trying. No,
Yes.
it should be hard, and then it gets easier, right? Because you're trying. You keep on trying.
Exactly that.
So yeah, it's just that first hurdle. It's getting men to take action, getting men to back themselves, because once again, I think it's the children, it's the women who suffer when men are in that state. When men are anxious, men are depressed, men have been told to be secure. Okay, men are overly secure. They're that secure that they're morbidly obese and think it's okay. They're that secure that they're okay having no money in the pocket. There needs to be, and when you're insecure, that's demonized. Oh, he's an insecure man, and he gets laughed at. I think insecurity is a brilliant thing, because insecurity causes you to take action. If you're insecure about your weight, guess what? That's a trigger. You should be taking action on that. That's a signal. But an insecure man
do you know what? That's a fantastic way to look at it. I like that.
I know it's fantastic because I come up with it. but
everybody needs to go get an insecurity.
yeah, because that's the thing. Insecurity causes you to take action. It's a signal.
Yeah.
If you're insecure about something, if somebody comes and calls me a racial slur, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I'm not insecure about that because I know I can't change it. And I don't want to change it. Are you with me? I'm secure in that.
Yeah.
But someone to me, listen, mate, you're putting a bit of timber whilst you've been away on holiday. I'm gonna work my ass off in the gym for the next few weeks till I'm back to a position where I'm not feeling so insecure. It's a signal.
Yeah.
But what happens? Oh,
yeah.
That bloke's dead insecure. If you're insecure in your relationship, work on your fucking relationship.
Yeah.
It's
I love that.
Yeah.
So, have you heard? Yeah, you don't need to grass anybody up, but feel free if you want to. The worst excuses on why a man can't change. I bet you've heard some of them in the past.
Ooh, yeah. So it's one is had one today. I had a guy blame the birth of his child. Do you think a
what?
birth as to why he's out of shape and why he blamed the birth of his child? We've had little in. Right, okay. Were you giving birth to him? No. Your missus was pregnant for 9 months, right? But you're the one who's looking pregnant for 9 months pregnant right now. Okay. Have you got support in terms of parents? Your parents or her parents? Yes, I have. So what are you on about? I haven't got the time. I haven't got the time. No, let's be straight. It's not a priority. Let's use the proper language for it. Okay. What else is that? It's it goes on. But like I said, I try not to focus too much on the excuses that are given because I don't believe them. I don't believe him. I don't believe anything that they've got to say, because it's a case of what actions have you taken? If it's really bothering you that much, what actions have you taken to fix the problem, to fix the insecurity that you've got, to fix the pain that you're suffering right now? What actions have you taken?
Yeah.
But for me, that speaks
Yeah.
that speaks more than anything. If that was the case, Amy,
Yeah.
I would have used prison as an excuse in the beginning when he asked me the question, who was
Well,
it? What
yeah.
made you fall into what you fell into? I said, I could have said this, I could have said this, I could have said this, but it was me. And it starts there.
Yeah.
It's like complete, total ownership. Sometimes when it isn't your fault, sometimes when it is out of your control, still saying it's my fault, I could have done something different there. It's empowering, man. It's empowering.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, because I bet you wouldn't go back and change anything in your past, would you? Or would you?
Just thinking
That's a
now.
deep thinking face.
Yeah, no, because I like to, because I would have previously have said no, and I might still say no, but I like to, sometimes I like to think about my own beliefs and my own thoughts and values, and I'd like to question them. Why is it that I believe this thing? Or and it would have been easy for me to say to you what I would, if have I got any regrets? I've got regrets of some of the people that, about some of the people and how I treated them
Mm-hmm.
in my life previously. I'm sorry
Yeah.
I had to put them through that. I'm sorry I had to put my parents through what they went through. I'm sorry about old friendships and relationships that I had that broke down and how I treated those people. But in terms of my actual,
Yeah.
the prison thing, sometimes I wish, Amy, I wish I got longer. Because I would have done
Right. Okay. Why's that?
Why? Because the way I saw it, it was like me, the way I saw myself was like a slingshot being pulled back, and I'm the ammunition. And the more time that I did behind the door, the further that slingshot was pulled back, and the further it was pulled back, and the further it was pulled back. And when it was released, that's when I shot off out that prison door, out the prison gates. So I think maybe what if I
Yeah.
got another year or two, what would
Yeah.
my trajectory have been like then? Because I use it productive. Amy, I love jail. I loved it. I loved it. Honestly, I loved
Right.
it.
Okay. I've
The
never
only
heard anybody say that before.
it's because I was growing, Amy. It's because I was growing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I think, fucking hell, I wish I could go back for a month, purely because I know how to utilize solitude. Being on my own doesn't
I
scare
was
me.
about to say, I suppose you get a lot of time to reflect on yourself, where outside, actually, in this world, you don't get time to think of yourself that much because it's that busy.
Yeah, that's correct. You're overly stimulated all the time. There's always something to do, and it's you know,
Yeah.
it does get a bit, you know, people can get overwhelmed if they haven't got structure in their life. However, in there, the only thing you can work on is yourself. It's
Yeah.
deep, deep pit of
Yeah.
self improvement. I grew more in
Yeah.
a prison cell than most people grow in their 9 to 5s over the entirety of their fucking life.
Yeah. I bet you get the chance to actually sit there and think, right, what do I actually fucking want? Like, what, you know, so you've not got any comparison on social media, like living somebody else's life or anything. You are just sat there and you'll either do your own heading or grow.
Yeah, exactly. And you always find an outlet. It can be fitness, it can be education, it can be drugs, it can be fighting, it could be selling drugs in there. You know, you can do. There's probably more drugs in there than there is on the streets, funnily enough.
I've heard somebody say that before as well.
Yeah, and it's not hard to get hold of. You're probably paying 5 times the price, you know.
Right.
But yeah, you find your way in there. You create your own way. You choose. And I've seen absolute crack addicts come in and fix up and find a job and find a purpose and find a community and find friendship. And I've seen people come in who are straight, who probably come in on a driving offence, end up on the drugs, end up on basic regime, lose everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I've
because
heard that as
again,
well.
in both scenarios, somebody gained a bond, gained a purpose, somebody lost a bond and lost a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever think that if you weren't caught, what your life would be like now? What would you be doing?
I can see it. I can see it with the people that I used to be with the peer group that I used to have. I can see in front of my own eyes. And you know what? I almost feel sympathy towards them
Yeah.
because they don't know what they are capable of. Because even if you're looking at transferable skills, selling drugs is running a business. And with drugs, you can't market that shit. You can't go out on social media and tell people this is what I've got. And you manage to make money.
Yeah.
Imagine when you've got a legit product, a legit service, when you can manage supply chain if it is products, when you've got staff to manage all the same, cash flow, etc. They're all transferable skills. And only because I did
Yeah.
get caught, I was able to kind of join the dots and put the dots together and think, you know what, I've got some natural talent here. I've got also a learned talent or whatever. I had some talent. It was just being directed in the wrong place. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're ignorant to certain things, and it's not their fault in that sense because they haven't had the opportunity. They haven't had the opportunity because that's all they know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's quite sad, isn't it? And I think that is another thing as well that's probably wrong with society is that people are very kind of blinded to what's possible
yeah,
because you see so much illness and suffering and people being poor that actually a lot of people don't see a way out of that.
there's an echo chamber. There's an echo chamber, and once again, it comes down to a few things. I think one of them is a scarcity mindset that there's not enough opportunity,
Yeah.
that there's not enough money, that there's not enough anything, you know. And what happens is because we're all in a almost in a circle, so facing each other, it's just an echo chamber of everyone repeating the same thing to one another. And over time, what it becomes a truth, and what is a truth? A truth is something that is commonly accepted by a large number of people, right? It becomes a truth. If I went out and told 100 people that we both knew that Amy's a bad person, it would then become as a commonly known truth, even though it's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same goes for opportunity. The same goes for what we spoke about. Because you live in a echo chamber, and then you've got the news feeding it, you've got social media feeding it, you know, so on and so forth. People get stuck and they don't see a way out, and they don't see what is actually possible. But sometimes you've got to be taken
Yeah.
out. And you know what? In fact, this is a fresh thought. You must leave the environment that you are in to grow. You must leave them. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, do some growth, but to get some exponential growth, you must leave the environment that you are in. Now, if you look at people who, for me, and it doesn't have to be somewhere positive, it can be somewhere negative, what is perceived to be a negative as prison. That's why people go away for uni. That's why people move city and so on and so forth. That's why people
Yeah.
certain friendship groups and they all of a sudden figure out, fucking hell, my life's improved.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's building connection with new people to create a new life. Because if it was a case of creating a if it was a case of creating a new life with the people that you currently have, you would have already done it.
Yeah. I think, would you say that's what happened to you until you went into prison?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I can imagine you earn a lot of money there with, and even though you had like a lavish lifestyle, there must have been a hell of a lot of downsides to it as well. But
Yeah.
did you kind of, do you think that was the only way at that point?
Before I went to prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I could see. Because everything else seemed slow. Everything else seemed, you know, he's gone to uni with a mug, or he's working a job. And I wanted to be somebody, I wanted to be somebody of significance. I wanted to be valued. And the circle that I was in, they valued those things. So I become that. Are you with me? So
Yeah, absolutely.
so it's a case of like, and I spoke about this on a recent piece of content. It's about validation. Everybody seeks validation. People don't like to admit it. But it's about who you're seeking the validation from. If you're seeking from validation from the people that are where you want to be and you're trying to impress them, then you'll start to progress and move towards that sort of life. The issue is people seek validation from people they couldn't give a fuck about.
Yes.
That's the problem.
That's so, yeah, that's so true. I mean,
like for example, Morty, we both know Paul. He messaged me today and he sent me a heartfelt message, and that buzzed me up because that's someone I look up to. Are you with me? So, yeah,
yeah.
that did validate me. That did validate my efforts. Once again, validation is a bad thing apparently. Every
So
human
it's
being.
yeah, we all like a bit of validation because it's nice to be told. But I think like people's opinions and that we're all opinionated, but we tend to take opinions of people we'd never swap places with.
Exactly, it doesn't make sense. And validation allows you to be felt seen. You feel seen when you're validated. Like Amy,
Yes.
you know, I spoke to when I said to you what you spoke about on Lucy's thing, I bigged you up, not because I'm chatting shit. I want to validate you. I want you to feel like this guy has looked at my stuff. This guy has values what I'm saying. He values being on here. I want you to feel like that. Because why? You're going to carry on doing the great work that you're doing.
Thank you, and I appreciated that as well.
So that comes from the bottom of my heart because I looked at your stuff, and you know more people need to know about you. And like I said, when you give that presentation, that masterclass on Lucy's call, straight away I was like follow straight on you. I was like awesome, you know, and I was pleasantly surprised when you reached out to me to do a podcast. So yeah.
Well, I looked at your profile and I was like, bloody hell, he's had a journey, and look how many people he's impacting. And you know, I like to think everybody's got good mental health, but I do believe that it's men's mental health that's struggling more, that needs help.
Yeah.
So I
In
do
your
love
opinion,
what
as
you.
a woman, what do you feel like the fix could be?
Women need to back down a little bit. I don't mean completely, but we tend to put ourselves on a bit of a pedestal and try and do all the independent, you know, big up the women. I think we've made men feel small. I hear a lot of women putting men down as well when they get to a certain like place of independence, which makes them entitled.
Yeah.
So I would change that. I would definitely kind of have more things where men group together with positive like role models. I would definitely have it for young men that are growing up now, because I believe like late teenagers, like teens have not got good role models at all. So I do believe that's a big thing.
Yeah. In terms of the independence thing with women and men, the only way you could bridge that is, and it is controversial, is to make sure the gender pay gap is there.
I agree with that as well.
Do you really?
I do. Yeah, I think that's where it all started.
That's very brave. That's very brave.
Yeah. I do believe that we have, rightly so, like we was able to vote and everything. And I do believe that's good. But I think feminists have pushed too hard in that many places that men will never keep up. And I think it's demoralizing them. And and you do hear a lot of women putting men down and it's not equal by any means.
It's not
where women are concerned. No.
In terms of pay, yeah, it might be equal, but the power disparity now is ridiculous. Even in terms of like, you know, women can withdraw consent. I don't know how true this is. I don't know if it's a fact. Can withdraw consent for sex after sex. They can withdraw consent after.
What?
That's what happens.
Okay.
Yeah. So once again, it's because people are just shit scared. It's this whole woke culture.
Yeah.
Woke culture, when it started, was actually a force for good, but then it becomes something that was very, you know, so liberal. It's ridiculous. And then, you know, the whole LGBTQ argument plus HDTV, whatever it is, and the acronyms on that argument coming to
I
play.
can't keep up with it all, mate.
Listen, you're either gay or you're straight. You're either man or you're woman. It's cool. I don't care
Yes.
which one you are.
Yes.
As long as you're not, you know what I mean, you're not trying it on with me, we're cool. But apart from that, you're either gay or straight, or you're a man or you're a woman. And all this, I think, like in 2002, 2003, the world lost their fucking mind. And now,
Yeah.
things starting to, people are like, this is kind of fuck, because there's people taking hormones to change the gender that are now like, fuck. I'm saying people, I mean kids.
Yeah.
Kids.
And it's wrong. It should
What
never
the-
be allowed.
What is going on? What's going on? And then you've got a young son. I've got
Yeah.
who's not even 3 yet. I think, what are they coming into? What are they coming into? We've
Yeah,
got
it's scary.
these children into the educational system, and what are they going to be taught? And
Exactly that.
it's scary. It's scary.
Yeah, I think, you know, everybody gets offended easy if you don't think the same way as somebody as well. So everybody's freedom of speech is basically gone because nobody dares say anything because we don't know whether it's politically correct or anything.
The thing is, Amy, there's no such thing as freedom of speech. It never existed. You can't.
Oh no, and it definitely doesn't now.
It definitely doesn't now, but it never really existed, and it shouldn't exist. You should not be able to. You should not be allowed to say certain things. There should complete freedom of speech. Imagine if there was a complete freedom of speech. There's never been complete freedom of speech. If you go to, I go to an airport, Amy. I'm Asian. I'm Muslim. If I go to an airport, I shout Allahu Akbar, mate. Ain't it meant to be freedom of speech? I'm gonna get jumped on. The same way if you go to a Muslim country and you disrespect their prophet, it's not going to end well. So is that true freedom of speech? Can I, if there's true freedom of speech, drop the N-bomb on social media when you're not black? There's no freedom. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's a lie.
Yeah.
It never existed, and it shouldn't exist. Are you with me? But let's be really open and about it. Let's be honest about it. No, you haven't got freedom of speech, and this is why, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be absolute carnage.
There's no such thing, and there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be.
But yeah, that's it. And it's like, you know, if somebody identifies as, let's say, a cat, and you say no, you're a bloke, like, you will be wrong because that's what they're identifying as. It's like the whole thing, you have to, like, all this, like, you have to agree, and it's just way too much.
It's silly. It's silly. It's like cosplay and child's play should end when you're a kid. You know, when you're a kid and you might dress up as a cat. I think past the age of 6 years old, if you're dressing up as something daft after the age of 6, 7 years old, you should be incarcerated. You should be put in prison, and we'll see what happens here and there. It should be banned. But even stuff like, you know, Halloween's become really big, okay, in the UK.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
an
massive.
American holiday, yeah. But once again, that's added fuel to the fire because it's dressing up thing and not being who you are and so on and so forth, and it just adds fuel to the fire, you know. And
yeah,
I don't know what we're gonna do, Amy. What do we need to do? We need to come up with an action plan to solve the problem.
I don't know. I look at it like that. You've got all these kids running around being identifying as different things. Now, as a brain coach, like, your brain's not fully formed to the age of 25. So we've got all these under 25s kind of running around doing weird things. This is not good. That's not going to end up with good mental health at all.
Suicide rates are going to go up.
Yeah.
In terms of people going to prison is going to go up because the family, you know, the family has been broken up. Crime, drug addiction, obesity, all of these things are going to go up because, and I'm convinced, because of these things, because of these disparities in gender, in sexuality, in identity.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's somewhere I want to be.
No.
It's true.
Life's complicated enough.
I love the UK. I love England with all my heart. I was born there. I was bred there. Okay. But wow, man, like, do I want to be there anymore? I don't know.
Yeah. It's confusing at the best. Life's more difficult enough without trying to work out what people are.
Yeah.
And you know, we've kind of lost touch with reality of what we're supposed to be doing.
The world's gone mad.
It's odd.
It
has. It literally has gone mad. Everybody's angry because, you know, when we're not allowed to say things and you can't have an opinion and things like that. I just think we're not heading to a good, it's not good now, but it's going to get worse.
Yeah, because they're not going to resolve anything. They're not going to put any restrictions in place. They're not going to put any, you know, any precautionary measures. Any government that comes in lets the people down. There's not been a single government that's ever upheld any of the promises. So I think as a people, we have to take matters into our own hands as a collective, whether it is with the wars that we choose to fight, whether that then cause immigration, and whether it is with this whole gender role thing, whether it is the propaganda that's been pushed on social media, whether it is our educational system, our outdated educational system. The list goes on. It comes down to the people.
Yeah.
But I believe the UK government is really good at keeping the people just under that revolution stage. They spit out just enough to keep you interested, but not enough. They don't drop it as low, so you just absolutely kick off and rip the thing to bits, you know, rip the country to bits. So I don't know. It comes down to the tolerance level of the people.
It does. And the sad thing is people that are, let's just say, not in the best shape, full of fear, depressed, are easier to control, you know, because they're more, you know, so they're more likely to have a drink, take drugs, feel mentally crap, and physically they are easier to control than somebody that's
as a whole. What we've got, and I'm generalizing here, but the average man in the UK is a docile, obese, conformist, and that's what that. Like I said, they're really easy to control. If you want to, if I wanted to control the people, I'd get them fat, I'd get them lazy, I'd tell them that everything's going to be okay, and I would make sure that the men of the country don't run their own homes. That's what I would do.
Yes. And then just put men against women, and then it'll be that's basically what it is.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Oh, mate, you're an absolute star. So if any men are sat here listening, and most of my listeners are men, right?
Awesome.
And they are like, right, I need to get my shit together. Where can they find you on social media?
So I'm mainly on Instagram. It's full name, Imthiaz _Ghulam. I'm sure you'll leave it in the description somewhere.
Oh, yes.
Just drop me a message. Let me know that you heard the podcast. I've got free resources that can help you out, so on and so forth. And even if you just want a conversation in the DMs, I'm up for that. Okay. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Absolutely incredible. Last question. Hardest one ever. Everybody complains. Tell me 3 good things about yourself.
3 good things about myself. I'm very direct.
Yeah.
AKA brutally honest. I am
good.
Yeah. I would say I am I don't know how you take this. I don't know if some people might not take this as a good thing, but I'm a kindred spirit. I'm old school.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
if you're on my team, I've got your back all the fucking way, even if I've got to break my back in the process.
I absolutely love that. Well, thank you, my lovely. You've been an absolute star. I honestly love the work that you do. And like I say, my heart melted when I saw you in them prisons because it's needed there. It's needed there. So thank you.
No, thank you.
And yes, enjoy. When are you back in the UK, or are you staying out in Dubai?
No, so I'm back on the 15th for about a week, and then I've got to go to Ireland. So I'm getting my flights in now. I haven't been able to travel for about 8 years because of restrictions, because of my conviction, but I'm making the most of it. So yeah, I'm enjoying myself.
Absolutely love it. Well, you deserve it, mate. So thank you, and thanks everybody for listening.
I appreciate it.
Take
Thank you.
care.